Wondering how you're going to pay for IVF? Today we're going to go over all the ways you can fund your IVF dreams even if money is tight. My name is Jess. I'm a certified nurse midwife and infertility mom, and I am 8 weeks pregnant with our second frozen embryo transfer. When our reproductive endocrinologist said it was time to throw in the towel on IUI and move to IVF, my first concern was, how the heck are we going to pay for that? The initial quote we got for IVF was between $27,000 and $32,000, and we absolutely did not have that much in savings. So here's everything we did to help make our IVF dreams come true. I am super excited to make this video because after pregnancy and women's health, my second passion in life is personal finance. I did not become financially literate until I was 31 years old, but when I started getting my stuff together financially, I found this amazing community called the FIRE community, which stands for Financial Independence Retired Early. I found an amazing support group, and through this group, I have seen countless individuals from all walks of life retire in their 30s and 40s. I'm bringing this up now because I know there are going to be haters in the comments who are going to come at me saying, I'm really privileged, not everyone can come up with the money for IVF, but if school teachers and nurses can come up with enough money to save and invest and retire in their 30s and 40s, you can come up with $20,000 for IVF. No one is going to come up with the money for you. You have to be the one to decide that you're going to buckle down and make your dreams happen. Early on in my financial literacy journey, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and I'm going to mention a whole bunch of personal finance books in this video. I have affiliate links for all of them in the description. But my biggest takeaway from this book was to never tell yourself, oh, I can't afford that, but instead ask yourself, how can I afford that? So your brain treats it like a problem that there is a solution to and that you can solve. Full disclosure, we were doing some of these things before we decided to pursue IVF, but all of these things combined were what helped make IVF possible for us. The first thing we did was shop around. There are a wide variety of price ranges on IVF between different clinics and different countries. Even though we live in Washington State, we ended up flying to Arizona for all of our IVF care because there was about a $15,000 cost difference. I made a video breaking down all of the expenses we paid in Arizona, so I will link that here. CNY Fertility has severoll locations in New York State, as well as a location in Colorado State, and they're known for doing discounted IVF procedures, so I have seen a few of my patients go that route. I've even seen some of my patients go to other countries for IVF. For example, I've seen a few patients go to Mexico, and they've told me they've paid as little as $5,000 for IVF. However, I have heard some sketchy things come out of Mexico. Like I had one patient who said she didn't get to decide what she did with her leftover embryos. She didn't know what happened with them. So you may be paying a bigger price than you realize. The first time we were trying to get pregnant, I had found a clinic based out of Barbados that did IVF for around $11,000 a cycle. And if we hadn't gotten pregnant with IUI the first time, I probably would have looked into that more seriously. Now, though, since we have a child and we have to arrange childcare every time we do an IVF procedure, flying out of country just didn't really seem feasible for us. Number two, if you do not already keep a budget, now is the time to start because there are probably expenses that you're paying every month that you can reduce. You can just start by making a list of all of the expenses that you pay every single month and go through them line by line and see how you can cut them down. For example, when my husband and I first started keeping a budget, we found we were paying $100 a month for our phone plans, and we both had fully paid off phones, so that was just for the phone plan. So we shopped around a little bit and we found a plan instead where we could pay $15 a month for each of us for unlimited calls, texts, and then a reasonable amount of data. So that cut down our phone bill by $70 a month. And I know you're going to be like, Jess, that's not going to pay for IVF. But if you go through and do this with every single expense and can save $70 here, $100 there, it really does start to add up. We also found an internet provider that was $20 less a month. We priced out our homeowner's insurance and our car insurance, things like that. When you make this list, do not forget to include groceries, even though it's not like a stable number every month necessarily. For most of us, that's a place where you can save a couple $100s a month. We were able to save a few $100s a month just by shopping the sale ads, meal planning, and making a conscious effort to buy things that were a little bit lower cost. If budgeting is scary for you, especially if you have a lot of debt, then I would definitely recommend the book I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit. There's a link in the description. He makes getting serious about your finances fun, especially for beginners. It's a really great book for beginners. If you are more advanced and you want to step up your financial game a little bit, then I would recommend The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins or Quit Like a Millionaire by Kristy, Shen, and Bryce Leung. Both of these books have something different to offer to people who are already serious about their finances. And again, links are in the description. Step number 3, open a high yield savings account. All of that money that you're saving each month needs to go right into your high yield savings account. If you leave that money in a regular bank like Chase or Bank of America, it is going to make minimal interest. But if you put it in a high yield savings account, right now you can get between 5 to 5.5% interest on your money. So for example, our emergency fund is in a high yield savings account that's paying 5.5% interest right now. And just in 2 months' time, just for having our money sitting in the bank, we've made $300. You can shop around for the bank with the highest interest rate, but if you're wondering where to start, Ally Bank, Betterment, and CIT Bank are all known for having good high yield savings accounts. Number 4, continue to keep your expenses low by avoiding upgrades or keeping up with the Joneses. This one bites a lot of Americans in the butt and is the reason as a nation that we have so much credit card debt. I'm looking at you, all those Stanley Cup lovers. I'm just kidding, but we have way over normalized financing things in our society, which just means paying for things that we can't afford. So, for example, my bank comes at me all the time about how I'm qualified to finance a new car, but I have a perfectly good car that drives parked in my driveway. Is it super sexy? No, it's a 2015 Subaru Outback without all of the bells and whistles, but I'm going to drive that sucker until the wheels fall off and it won't start anymore. Same with my phone. When my previous phone of 5 years died, I just walked into the T-Mobile store and said, "Give me the cheapest smartphone you have." And the sales guy pulled out the Nord 1G Plus. I had literally never heard of it before, but it works just fine. I can use all my apps, I can make phone calls, and I don't have a phone payment. And I've still got a headphone jack, so I can buy $1.25 earbuds at the dollar store instead of forking out $100 for AirPods. And I know you're probably saying to yourself right now, "Wow, Jess, that's really ratchet," or whatever the kids are saying these days, but it's worth it to me. Having all the, latest stuff is not going to bring me happiness, but being a parent does. All right, if you're rolling your eyes at me right now and you kind of want to punch me in the face, that is okay because I have one more trick up my sleeve, taking out a loan. There are companies out there that do loans specifically for IVF. We didn't consider this one, but it was advertised to me aggressively. The interest rates on these loans are usually kind of high. So, for example, I checked the SoFi website because that was the one that was advertised to me the most. And the interest rate ranges between like 8.99% up to 25%, depending on your credit score. So, if you pick this option, you are going to want to pay this loan off as fast as you possibly can. You may also want to do some of the other things I mentioned in the video first so you can save up some money, improve your credit score, and maybe take out a smaller loan or one with a lower interest rate. I had a lot of student loan debt going into our marriage, so I really didn't want to consider this option because the idea of taking on more debt would have just been so stressful to me, it would not have been worth it. But depending on your situation, it may be an option that you want to consider. There are other options that you may want to consider that didn't work for us. So, for example, you could consider getting a part-time job at Starbucks. They notoriously have a really good health insurance for infertility. And when we looked into it, you only have to work 20 hours a week to qualify for their health insurance benefits. If you end up down the personal finance rabbit hole, you may also stumble across people saying you should sell your stuff or that you should have a garage sale. But we've done this a few times, and honestly, it is just not that lucrative. Twice on our IVF journey or infertility journey, we have had garage sales, and it takes a lot of work to price all the stuff, schedule a whole weekend out of your month to do it, put up all the signs, all of that. And you're not going to make a ton of money unless you have some really amazing things to sell. So both of the times we did it, we put in a lot of work and only made about $160. And after the second one, I decided this is just not worth the amount of work for the money that you get out of it. We've had better luck selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace, but again, you've got to have some pretty amazing stuff to sell and you're going to get a fraction of what you paid for it. I hope you found this video helpful. I know, like I said, there's going to be haters in the comments coming at me saying that I'm really privileged. And yes, I know we're very fortunate to have been able to pay for IVF, but we are a single income family. My husband is a stay-at-home dad, and we literally did basically all of these things to be able to afford IVF. I think it's also worth noting that when you're budgeting for IVF, it's probably going to cost a few more $1,000s than what you're anticipating, depending on medication costs and how many embryo transfers you need. So you need to keep that in mind when you're coming up with money. Like I said, I love talking personal finance. So if you have questions about any of these steps or want other book recommendations, please drop a comment below. I have affiliate links to all of the books I mentioned in the description if you're interested in learning more. I post new videos every week about infertility, pregnancy loss, and pregnancy after 35. So please like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss an upload. Thank you so much for watching.